Good morning, welcome back. If you're new here, I'm Amber. Welcome back to the Heirloom Gardener channel. I thought I would take you along today on a little garden tour. As you can see behind me, our beds are filled out nicely, so I thought it'd be a good time to take you along for the first garden tour of 2024. And maybe I'll do a few of these throughout the year so you can see how the garden changes throughout the seasons and throughout the months. So I'm going to take you around bed to bed, show you what's growing. Almost everything in here is an heirloom variety. We have lots of things going to seed, so we can seed save from those. So I'll show you those as we go along. And yeah, it's a nice peaceful morning. The cicadas aren't super loud yet, so maybe we can get this little garden tour in before they get any louder for the morning. So come along with me and tour my garden. Okay guys, so here's a quick overview of what the garden looks like right now. So we can just start right here in this bed since that's where I'm standing at. We can come down here. Have a quick look at all of the leafy greens. This is a bed of leafy greens. A lot of those have bolted and started to go to seed. But here we have our heirloom red romaine. Beside it we had Paris Island romaine. We've been harvesting a lot from this. Okay. And then we have a, I don't remember for sure what this is. It may be iceberg, an heirloom type of iceberg lettuce. Over here was Bloomsdale long-standing spinach. It was planted very early on, late February, early March. This is putting on its seed heads. It has bolted. So I'm going to let that go to seed. It is the only spinach in the garden right now, so we're going to let that go to seed save from. And all of these beautiful tall lettuce plants that you see here, that is red wing. Those are all volunteer that grew back here from last season. They are all putting on these gorgeous little seed heads. So we're letting all of that go to seed. Lots of those. We'll be getting lots of that seed saved from that. From there we can just go straight down the middle of the garden. We added these little teepees to use up some of this unused space in between these beds. And at the bottom of the teepees we have planted, these are like yard-long beans and asparagus beans. I don't remember which ones these are. I know in one teepee I planted yard long, that's like the green, and then on the other one I planted, I think it's like actually on the other one maybe I planted a red version of like an asparagus bean or a yard long bean. I'd have to go back and look at the seed packages, but there's those beans. Okay, so we have that teepee, and then there's some more beans planted on that side. The next bed is a bed of strawberries. This is the second year that these berries have been here. We planted out a few. We let the runners go this last year. This is their second season. They're putting on runners now. That's why it's kind of weedy, because I'm trying to let the runners get nice and rooted before I pull the weeds. These are some gorgeous looking strawberry plants. This patch, it has really filled out. That is those. Okay. More little cicadas. They are everywhere. I'm just glad that they're not being super loud yet. They will get loud though here in a little while. Here's one. So these are berries. We got these from as bare roots from a Mennonite community. We planted those out early last spring. They're doing great. Here's our other teepee. It is planted out with those yard-long beans at the bottom of them. on this side. And then over here on the other side, I had 2 leftover little tomato plants, so I planted those here. You can sort of stake them up on the side of this trellis as well. And then we have our beans over here on this side. Then we have this nice long bed right here. This is a bed that is interplanted with bush beans out here on the edge, on each side. Those are blue leek bush beans, and then in the center you're seeing an heirloom variety of corn that's Country Gentleman, and then we have purple whole peas interplanted between the corn. So that is what we have going on here. It's the bush beans, that's our corn, and these little guys beside the corn are the purple whole peas. So that's what's going on there. Okay, all the way to the back here we have a bed of herbs. There are several different types of herbs hidden away in there, but the mint has taken over the spring, so I have to get in here and really aggressively prune all of the herbs back. But that's mint, a couple of different types of mint. And then we have oregano here. That's what we have, oregano right here. It's popped up here and there. We also have some sage in here. There's sage. And somewhere hidden away in here there is rosemary as well. I've got to sort of reclaim this bed from the mint monster. Okay, so, then we can go down this side. Did have some cute little goats in the background, and I don't know where they went, but this is our bed of onions. There's 2 types there. There's a red onion and a yellow onion. Those are doing good. It's about time to fertilize those. And then as we move over here, we have this next middle bed. We have potatoes. These are all potatoes that were saved from last year's garden, and we let them sprout and replanted them. So you can see that bed is nice and filled out. Then over here we have another bed of potatoes and 1 kale plant. This is a kale that overwintered from last fall. It is a blue curled Scotch heirloom variety, and it has bolted, it is flowering and going to seed. The pollinators love these yellow flowers. We'll be able to get some kale seed from this. So there is the kale that is going to seed. We're just letting it hold up that one little spot around the potatoes. The potatoes don't seem to be minding at the moment. Okay. Over here we have a bed of carrots and onions that are interplanted. They seem to do really well when they're interplanted together. This is a rainbow variety of carrots. I bought those seeds actually from the Mennonite Garden Center as well. These are onions that will actually just be growing to eat as like green onions. Those probably will not be going full term. Right here we have a little thyme that's trying to jump over the edge. So that whole bed is carrots and onions. In the back here we do have a couple of carrots. This is going to be a carrot head. This is a carrot that overwintered from last fall, and it has popped back up. I guess we missed it when we harvested our carrots, so it's right here. We'll be putting on lots of little carrot heads. But these flower heads are very lacy and pretty, and then those will give us some carrot seed. Okay. Oh, there's also, I sort of missed this, along this edge of this bed there are bush beans. I plant bush beans at the edge of almost every one of my beds just because it's simple. They companion plant or intercrop with just about anything that's around the same size as them, just as long as they're getting enough sun. So we have bush beans around here. They sort of grow and fall off the sides, like as the beans put on, it weighs them down and the beans will actually just fall off the side. It makes it very easy to come along and just harvest your bush beans off the side of your bed. Okay, guys, look at all of these cicadas. I mean, they have totally overtaken my garden. They are on a celery plant though. This bed is mainly for seed saving right now. Down here low I had planted some kale just sort of as a ground cover because there was not any celery left over here. And then we have 5 or 6 celery plants from last year. Planted those out last May or June, and we harvested from them all year. And then we overwintered them and they have come back, and now they are putting on these beautiful little flower heads that will turn into celery seed for us. So all of this will become celery. This is an heirloom variety called Utah celery. Okay. So that is what celery flowers look like. And that is what a celery plant would look like in its second year of growth. Okay, over here, this bed's not super exciting. This is a bed of carrots. These are Danvers carrots, interplanted with, I believe, some of the rainbow carrot seed that we had left over. So we have that. Okay. Okay, we have this next bed right here. It has kale all down the side. There are 5 tomatoes on this side of the trellis, 5 on the other side. There was spinach on the other side as well, but that has since bolted. And there are lots and lots of peas over here. It's really loving this spot because of the shade from this tree behind it. Some of my peas have broken through their trellising, so they need to be tucked back up there. But as you can see, these peas are just loaded down. A lot of these are ready to harvest. So we have over here, we have kale. This is more of the blue curled Scotch kale. You can see why it's called curled, because the leaves are very curly. And then in this bed we have 10 heirloom Rutger tomato plants that are growing there. Okay, and those peas. Over here we have a spinach plant that is going to seed right there. There's that. Okay. Our next bed over here. This is a bed of carrots that I'm actually going to be harvesting these really soon. These are ready to pull, and this is going to be the bed where my sweet potatoes are about to go. So in the next day or two I'll be pulling out the rest of these carrots. We've already been eating off of them. There are still plenty to be harvested in there. Come through, we'll pull all those up. And that will be perfect time to plant the sweet potatoes immediately, the sweet potato slips immediately, because the carrots will already have the soil loosened up when we pull up, when we harvest them. So that'll be ready to go. There's also some bush beans down here, once again planted around the edges. Okay, moving from that bed over to this bed. This one's a little messy. We have peas that need to be pulled up, but there is some rainbow Swiss chard in here. Here's the yellow. There is the red. It's looking very nice. And then we have all of our purple Cherokee tomatoes hidden away in here. There's 10 tomatoes hidden away in this bed right here. It's just hard to see them with all of the peas that are in the way. Now, this is the one bed that I have not come through and weeded yet, so I've got to work on that. Okay, from there we can head over here. This is a bed of Amish paste tomatoes, I believe. No, actually this is Roma. This bed is 10 Roma tomatoes. And then we had a couple of volunteer pop up, but this is where I planted Romas last year, so hopefully those are all Romas as well. See, we have those there, and then down on one end here we have a jalapeno pepper. And then on this end we have some sunflowers. Our sunflowers are interplanted with cucumber right here, because I always plant sunflowers and then come back a few weeks later and plant out the cucumber. And that is so that the cucumbers can trellis the sunflowers. They really seem to grow well together. I do that every year. And yeah, they seem to do great with that. And so the other side of that is the rest of the tomatoes. Our next bed here is sort of a mismatch of varieties. We have some carrots that have popped up. I actually planted these in the fall, I believe. And I guess some of the seeds finally decided it was their time to shine. So I'm just going to leave those there. Those are some little just leftover carrots. The edges of this bed are all planted out like all the way around with bush beans. And then in the middle here we have crookneck heirloom squash. There's a couple of plants of squash here. Then centered around the teepee are heirloom Blue Lake pole beans and a couple of Market More cucumbers, which is also an heirloom variety. And down at the very end, well, as you can see, we have a couple more little carrots here that have popped up out of nowhere. And then down here, this is a California Wonder heirloom pepper plant. We have that on the sort of on the edge. Our pepper plants, usually I plant them along the edges of the walkway on the beds, and they sort of grow and they sort of fall over the edge of the bed here. That works out well, so they're not competing for space. And then you'll see that several of these beds are all basically the same, so I'll go quickly. We have 5 tomatoes planted on each side for a total of 10 tomatoes in this bed. These are beefsteak tomatoes, heirloom tomatoes. And as you can see, we have our very first baby tomato that I have found so far. So that's exciting. This bed originally had radishes on both sides, and then it had our little marvel peas. So we have some peas still hanging on. I'm going to harvest these today and shell them. You can see we have a few little peas hanging on to the trellis still that have not succumbed to the heat. It's been very hot out here, like in the 90s, so those last few are holding on though. So here's another bed that is much like the other bed that I just showed you. We have bush beans along the edges, pole beans around the teepee, and I believe these have Boston pickling cucumbers in it. And instead of squash in this one, we have Black Beauty heirloom zucchini. We have 3 here, 3 on the other side. So that is what those all look like. Our bush beans are doing really nice right now. Our next bed over here is going to be another tomato bed. This one still has a whole lot of kale that's kind of hanging on, so I've just let it be. I had kale on this edge of the bed and radishes on the other. I harvested all the radishes. We're still harvesting daily from the kale. And then this bed has several different types of heirloom variety tomatoes, sort of a mismatched bed. It has great white. It has, this is a new one actually. Let's see if I still have, it was an heirloom variety. And it is right here. It is a Mary Huddleston large pink heirloom, so I'm excited about that. I have not tried that one yet. We had great white in here. We have our cherry tomatoes in here. I think we have the pink Oxford ones, or is it Oxford? Oxheart, something of that nature. We have a whole bunch of different fun varieties in here. Ones that maybe I don't really want to can as much of, but I just want for fresh eating. Those are over here in this bed. Okay, so next we have this bed of interesting little plants here. It looks very ferny, sort of plasticky almost. These are actually seed pods. Last fall I planted turnip greens here. They overwintered, and this spring they grew back and they bolted, went to seed. And so what you're looking at here, all of these, each one of these little pods here are filling up with seeds. Every one of these individual little pods holds about 10 seeds, so you can imagine how many turnip seeds we will have for turnip greens once we seed save from this. So it feels worth it to me for this bed to be sort of in reserve for all of this seed saving. In the center there's actually another seed saving that's going on. Let's see if we can see over here, these little purple flowers right there. Those are radish flowers, and the interesting shaped little pods that you see right there, those are going to be radish seed pods. Here's some more over here. I can get closer up. They're kind of interesting looking. So this was where there was radish planted in the middle of my bed here. I didn't harvest a few of those before they bolted, and so they are going to seed. They put on those little purple flowers, and then they grow into these pods. Those will dry out and we will seed save from those. Over here we have a bed of potatoes, beans, and peas. So we have our potatoes growing here, and then we have our bush beans growing around the edges of our potato bed. I always grow bush beans with my potatoes. They do great together. So those are always two things that plant together. Both are doing great. And then I also have Oregon Giant Snow Peas. This is the heirloom variety as well. These are very prolific. They seem to be loving living here with the potatoes. Nobody seems to be competing for space too much. So that is those. Okay. And then this next bed is another bed of potatoes from our garden last year that we let sprout, and then we planted early March or maybe the last week of February. This bed also has bush beans interplanted with those. And then this last little bed here, actually I'm going to have to come back and re-sow a few things, it looks like. I don't really know what happened here. I don't know if birds or chicken got in here and ate some of my seeds, but along the edges we had bush beans, and then we have corn and purple whole peas interplanted here, and it's very sporadic. Corn and peas are. Okay. And I believe that this is a bantam corn, an heirloom variety. Once again, I'd have to go back and look at my seed. I know it's an heirloom corn variety, and then the purple whole peas, and then Blue Lake bush beans. Okay guys, so that is what is growing in our garden right now. Thank you for hanging out with me today. If you haven't followed us yet on Instagram, you can follow us over at @the_heirloom gardener. We're on Facebook at the Heirloom Gardener. And of course, you can always hang out with us here. If you haven't yet, I would love it if you would like and subscribe. And stay tuned for lots more gardening videos. We'll be focusing on heirloom varieties, seed saving, growing, organic tips, and maybe some homestead, chicken, goat cooking videos along the way as well. Thanks for hanging out with me, guys. I hope you have a blessed day.